Amphoreus has been around for a while, and we finally get to play around a little bit with the newly added Remember's Path. Did anybody think that now they have added a new path, what's stopping them from adding more paths in the future? Even ZZZ has obtained a new role only 1 year into the game. And what's interesting about Honkai Star Rail is that there are so many paths that exist lore-wise. The question would be, how are they going to translate said paths into gameplay? And I can see the possibility all of them eventually becomes a playable path. Why is that the case? Because there's one gacha game that I personally know that has added many core gameplay in their lifespan. It is FGO, with how they have added like 6 new classes into the game. I would say it is possible for Star Rail to have something similar moving forward, especially when it reaches 5, 6, and 7 years old. So what's up guys? Welcome back to another discussion video. This video is more like a follow-up from my old video, Honkai Star Rail will never be the same after version 2.7. As back then we discussed about how with the addition of Path of Remembrance, the developer ultimately set up for the potential of adding other paths as part of the game combat mechanic. If you haven't watched the video, I suggest watching that video first and then come back to this one, so you have more context of how Honkai Star Rail can evolve further. The reason why I'm making this video is to have some fun and put my wild and stupid ideas out there in the universe. This is something that I do a lot with my gamer friends. We just have fun and speculate on how a video game should be, and by me putting the ideas out in the open, who knows, it gets picked up by someone and the developers end up using it or something. There's no harm to actually do this. At the very least, we're just raising awareness for the other gamers out there. So I encourage you to do the same by putting your crazy ideas in the comment section, unless you want to keep your ideas just in case you want to make your own video games. So for this video, I'm going to put some ideas about my predicted playable path that's going to come out for Honkai Star Rail. And if you like this kind of video, do leave a like and subscribe to my channel. It will help me a ton, and you will know when the next discussion video is up. Anyway, here is my stupid ideas. Bear in mind, these are not original ideas. I tried to piece together mechanics from Simulated Universe and many other games, and even with some of the comments from my previous videos. So if your ideas was mentioned here, I thank you for your contribution. Alright, the first path, elation. This is most probably path that we will get if we do end up going to Edo Star, as some rumor has been going around theorizing that elation will be the next playable path, and with Sparkle involvement or something. There are 2 ideas that comes to my mind at the moment. The first one involves randomness, like the one in Simulated Universe. You know, AHA always do all kinds of unpredictable stuff. Or, like a clown, it becomes like an actor on a stage performing, meaning it becomes an on-field character, much like Finon, while it eliminates the whole party or maybe even 1 or 2 characters from the gameplay for a short moment. Let's expand on these ideas. Let's take a look at the first idea. For example, one character's skill will hit the enemy at random, so we cannot target an enemy, we just will go at random. Or maybe the ultimate will have effects of multiple outcomes, like maybe it will either deal AoE damage or it will end up helping us as a AoE healing. This might not be a meta path, but more for fun. And you can win some run if you get unlucky. Traditional RPG has this kind of trope for a long time. There are at least one character in turn-based game that always do random stuff that we cannot predict. And that's pretty much what I think elation could become. But to make it more interesting, make it works like an item where you throw it in and it will appear in the action bar, have its own turn, like a summon. But unlike summons from Jingyuan, Lingsha, and Topaz, these are not tied to the characters, and they will disappear after 1 or 2 usage, and you need to reapply it. And that way, this also works with Finon when he uses his ultimate and goes solo. Personally, I think that it is unfortunate that these days, the perception, mostly everything has to be meta in turn-based game, especially the gacha one. Otherwise, they are trash. I kinda miss when we have these luck-based characters in RPG games, honestly speaking. Even FGO has 1 or 2 characters that work like this, just for fun. The first idea seems a bit unlikely because once again, this is Hoyoverse and you want to make money and whatnot. If it's not meta, these days I think many players only want to press buttons to get good results without much thinking. So the second idea is probably a bit more likely, which is taking the field by themselves like Thainon while benching the other party members. So basically, much like Thainon, when they use their ultimate, they will be in an enhanced state where their basic attack and skill will be enhanced. But the difference is that instead of eliminating all of your party members, perhaps you will eliminate slot 2 and slot 3, only leaving slot 4 open. And to balance things out, make it so they're not skill point friendly, and because of that, you might need a character in slot 4 to help with the skill point generation. Therefore, Sparkle in the team. Once again, relate her to Elation again. So these two are what comes to my mind when it comes to Elation Path. How about you guys? Do you have any interesting ideas you want to share about Elation? Do let me know. The second path will be Propagation. The Simultaneous Universe blessing for this path focuses on basic attack, and the Divergent Universe adds buffs on the skill damage as well. While lore-wise, it focuses on multiplying their numbers like bugs. It is a bit difficult for me to think around the ideas of multiplication of your character, so let's get around the Simultaneous Universe / Divergent Universe version instead. So perhaps it focuses on basic attack, much like Dan Heng Il, but let's make it a bit different. This path will have either multiple version of their basic attack, like Dan Heng Il, but instead of skill point, they will consume HP, or a multiple version of skill that consumes multiple skill points, a bit similar to Archer. But instead of rapid skill, they can choose how many skill points they want to spend. And lastly, maybe a multiple version of the ultimate, like RGNT, that can use a weaker or stronger version of their ultimate depending on the situation. If you want to wipe the mob, use the weaker version. Or if you want to do an overkill big damage, do the stronger version. I think this kind of playstyle will add a bit more player expression on which playstyle they prefer, either using HP as resource, managing skill points usage, or building your strength to use big ultimate, or use it prematurely to control the situation to your advantage. So this path, I'm expecting something like low floor but also high ceiling, easy to use, but if you strategize well, you can get a lot out of by using this path. Now we're moving into the unknown territory because the rest of the paths don't have Simultaneous Universe version. So the third path will be Equilibrium. Since it is all about balance, perhaps this path focuses on counter, since it is about you attack me, so I attack you back, try to create a balance. Just like how the summon now is going to have their own system, via the Remembrance path, there's a possibility that counter is going to branch off from the follow-up attack system and establish itself as a path. When Yunli was released, there was an either MOC or Pure Fiction challenge that categorized counter as its own damage category. So I think this is not necessarily a far-fetched idea. Second one, probably since around the idea of balance once again, perhaps it will be a form of sustain. Perhaps it will be a form of draining HP and then redistribute them to our party. So once again, balancing things out by taking something from the enemy and giving it out to others. I don't know, I'm just spitballing here, but I think it is quite plausible. The fourth part will be Enigmata. Since Enigmata based on the lore is all about concealing or distorting things, I was thinking we can make a new type of sustain like dodging. This is going to be a very difficult sustain unit to use. It is about guaranteeing a unit to be invulnerable for one turn, except themselves, and to kind of balance it, they could make the Enigmata unit to take more damage. It probably won't be as effective as Shielder or Fushuan, but perhaps just like at the moment enemies love dealing big AoE attack, maybe one day there are going to be enemies that will only deal single target damage, but it is going to hurt a lot, which maybe the healers and preservation cannot recover easily from. I'm just throwing some bait out here, so hopefully you guys can throw out your creative ideas too. But why I'm thinking about dodging, because as Star Rail gets older, more mechanics needs to be introduced for both players and also enemies. Because in this game, we don't have guard button for some reason. Alright, the fifth path is Voracity. This is thanks to one of my viewer ideas from my previous video. That person gave a wonderful idea for Veracity Path by focusing around the concepts of HP as a resource, but instead of consuming own HP, they will use their teammates' HP as a resource, much like Jing Liu. And then they are stacking small buffs that have a really high maximum stacks. They have characters that grow stronger as the fight drags on, much like Cypher. Like how Cypher can collect so many coins so that she can cash out a big damage using her ultimate. But it takes time to build. But at the current version of Star Rail, probably they won't have a spotlight because everything is time gated and a long battle is not desired. I think to make them shine, there should be a mode in the future or even a story battle that involves survival against a large of waves. Or make it into a raid battle like in FGO. Make it an event that the community will try to deal as much damage as possible to the boss within a specific amount of time. Maybe 1 week or something. But once again, as I've said in so many of my videos, the first thing the devs need to do is to stop making time-bound challenges, as that really restrict specific playstyle. Lastly, beauty. I don't know what to do exactly, but I think status ailment, but not DOTs, or status debuff like attack and defense down. Those who has been playing turn-based RPG games, or maybe even some other gacha games like FGO, are familiar with them. Even in Honkai Star Rail, we have seen enemies inflicting status ailment on us, like sleep, stuns, berserks, and so on and so on. It's kinda weird to have a turn-based RPG, but we don't have this special varieties of status elements. Since, once again, much like the previous idea, because HSR is a content tends to be a DPS check, as of now, probably they won't do much to help tackling endgame content, so the devs need to develop the gameplay much more for these paths to be relevant meta-wise. Well, that's currently all my 6 ideas. I don't know what to do with permanence or order path, or even finality, because order feels so similar to harmony and we barely know anything about finality. So if you guys have ideas for those 2 paths, do let me know. And who knows, maybe one day we are going to get an exclusive Trailblazer path, the Trailblaze. Well, that's some wild copium predictions that I'm making. Once again, I love talking to my friends about my nonsense ideas, about how crazy it would be having this kind of ideas in video game that we love. Now I have a platform to share my ideas. I would like to have fun with my viewers and just go wild with my imagination. With how Honkai Star Rail needs to keep evolving their gameplay, it is bound we get more playable paths as the time goes. Just imagine that when the devs announce a new path, maybe a year later from now during their live stream, and one of your ideas is actually so similar to the mechanics of the new path that you theorize, you will be like, oh wow, my ideas that I commented in this random YouTuber is actually comes true. That's really cool. This kind of stuff brought my memories when I had fun with my brother when we just speculate about Monster Hunter games, and when our ideas actually show up in the next Monster Hunter game, we felt ecstatic because it feels like the developers knows how to evolve their franchise moving forward, just like what their consumer wants. Once again, perhaps there's a billion chance that this video, along with its comment being picked up by one of the game developers, especially Honkai Star Rail developers, and being used to help them brainstorming more for their character kit. But at least we try, right? Anyway, enough yapping for me. I hope this video at least lights some light bulbs in your brain, and hopefully it has some use for someone. If you like what you hear, do leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more discussion content. Thanks for watching. Until the next video, stay sharp gamers.